Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Apologies for yesterday, but I had quite an eventful day actually. I had lunch with the Tiger Club of William Pike, a very good friend and the editor of the Nairobi Star, put me up for membership, and we had some lunch, and then we had this sort of meeting with the committee. And of course you can't carry your phone, so by the time I left there it was at 4, then I had to cross town to Nestle, and before I knew it the day had gone. But it was fun. Macro thoughts. Ian Bremer tweeted, and I saw this and I forgot to mention it actually, that Russian oil exports to China have surpassed Saudi Arabia. And when you look at all these developments, it's actually extremely interesting, and it's interesting that Russia has turned east very definitely and has found a ready market there, and that has squeezed out Saudi Arabia. Holger Scheipitz, euro bumping around 112 or at 112.06 as Greece talks resume in Brussels. There's a sense of ennui, might get a little bit of a bounce, but I don't think it's going to last that long. On some news that the deal has been reached. Again, Holger comes up with how to make a killing with a Greek samurai bond that will mature in mid-July and trades at 73%. Which equates to a yield of 846%. Home thoughts, William Shakespeare, Coriolanus, which was one of my plays, and I've forgotten about it. In it, he says, "There is a world elsewhere," which took me to Jorge Luis Borges. "You have wakened not out of sleep, but into a prior dream, and that dream lies within another, and so on to infinity, which is the number of grains of sand. The path that you are to take is endless, and you will die before you have truly awakened." Political reflections, Zaid Benjamin tweeted, Kurdish activists accuse Turkey of allowing ISIL militants to attack Kobani from the border crossing. And the Turks, amongst others, stand foursquare behind ISIS, and seem to be popping their heads above the radar a little here, but they're clearly not interested in the Kurds making any further progress at this point in time. And I think that's a development. They're obviously feeling that they're crossing a red line. The Kurds become more and more emboldened, whether it is in Iraq, where the central government has had to be more accommodating towards the Kurds, or northern Syria, where they've carved out this sort of Kurdish enclave. And the Turks obviously are very concerned because they have a very big community of Kurds in Turkey. And then Slemani Times tweeted, ISIS fighters entered with weapons from Turkish side of the border, carrying weapons into Kobani. Came across this photograph of an explosion. This wasn't this time, but previously over Kobani. It's pretty arresting. Look at the photograph. Nassim Nicholas Taleb tweeted, "It is clear, Salafi Nazis, Wahhabi Nazis." Boston bombing, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev breaks silence to apologize to victims and their families. Immediately after the bombing, which I am guilty of, if there's any lingering doubt about that, let there be no more, I've learned of some of the victims, their names, their faces, their age, and throughout this trial, more of those victims were given names. More of those victims had faces, he said. "I'm sorry for the lives I've taken, for the suffering I've caused you, for the damage that I've done, irreparable damage," he said. On the 29th of April 2013, I wrote a piece called The Brothers Tsarnaev and the Long Tale. I quoted Pepe Escobar to start, "The dystopias of the new global disorder are all being normalized." I said there are more than 7 billion of us now in this 21st century world of ours, and that the long tail in a population of 7 billion is not an insignificant absolute number. In statistics, a long tail of some distributions of numbers is the portion of the distribution having a large number of occurrences far from the head or central part of the distribution, which is like someone like tsarnaev. Not many people are going to go and do that. Put in a different way, there are surely many brothers tsarnaev in this new 21st century of ours, and while I appreciate Osama bin Laden is being nibbled by the fishes, maybe not, according to Seymour Hersh, somewhere in the ocean, he basically inspired the likes of the brothers tsarnaev, those disaffected with the 21st century. In truth, that disaffection might have any number of reasons, and I'm reminded of my French O-level, where I studied Albert Camus' L'Étranger, and Camus said, "The Byronic hero, incapable of love or capable only of an impossible love, suffers endlessly. He is solitary, languid, his condition exhausts him. If he wants to feel alive, it must be in the terrible exaltation of a brief and destructive action." Don't get me wrong, I don't think of these folks as Byronic, not by a long shot. I'll also put up a still image from a surveillance video entered as evidence during the trial of Jokar Tsarnaev. That night, the two actual bombers, Tamerlane Tsarnaev and his younger brother Zokar, known as Jaha, behaved as if nothing was amiss. 20 minutes after the bombs went off, security cameras caught Jaha buying a pint of milk. Jaha tweeted, "Ain't no love in the heart of the city. Stay safe, people." This photograph caught my attention. It's a picture of people killed in the 1994 genocide, donated by survivors, installed on a wall inside the Gizozi Memorial in Rwanda's capital, Kigali. Currency markets, the euro is at 112.06. Dollar index is around the 95.30 level. Japanese yen, 123.75. I think the Japanese yen is going to weaken considerably and well over 125.70. Swiss franc 0.9330, the pound 157.03. Aussie, when I checked, was 0.7743, India rupee 63.615, South Korean won 11.0962. The Rial 309.91, I remain bearish the Rial. Egyptian pound 762.55, and the Rand has firmed up 12.14.31. Let's see how it hangs in here now. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart, and obviously it's waiting for Janet Yellen to shoot her pistol, and I think she will shoot it at some point this year. The question is, will she shoot it twice or just once? Euro dollar, let me put up a 3-month chart of that. Doing a lot of work around this 112 level, and I think, essentially Greece is largely priced in either way. Holger again, interesting chart. He's tweeted a correlation saying the DAX is moving higher in tandem with the ECB balance sheet expansion, which makes sense. The Ivy, which was a restaurant I once visited in London many moons ago a number of times. In fact, I went there one of the first times. I just got to the trading floor, got my credit card, and I had to take someone out for dinner. He was from Lazard. And we went to the Ivy, and he ordered steak tartare. And when it came, he was so horrified because he did not know that tartare means it's raw. And he got terribly upset. And then I had to explain to him, I said, that's actually how the dish comes. So I remember it very vividly. Another time, I think Salman Rushdie was on another table. It's quite an extraordinary place. Let me put up a photograph of the new dining room featuring a triangular bar in the middle of the room and tables along the side. And then this dish looked really tasty. Yellowfin tuna and salmon sashimi is a colourful dish. There are several Asian dishes on the menu. It looked terribly tasty. And then Eric Huntsader, whose graphs and charts are so fascinating and visual. This morning's ICANN, this is yesterday morning, induced washout in Netflix. Took just under a minute, he said. Commodity markets, gold 11.75, I think that's going down big time. Crude oil, very interesting. We've been in this narrow range, 58 to about 63. There's somebody out there supporting it, and I don't know how they're doing it, but they keep buying it and taking it back up, and let's keep an eye on it and have a look. Structurally, I think it should be lower, but then do remember we had that very bullish signal of Ali Naimi in Moscow. The Burj Khalifa tower stands above other skyscrapers on the city's skyline beyond an enclave of residential properties in Dubai. This is photographed by Bloomberg. talking about the Dubai real estate market. Faced with predictions that Dubai home prices may drop by as much as 20% this year, analysts say the Emirates' real estate developers and lenders are better prepared than when a crash in 2008 brought the city to the brink of bankruptcy. Standard & Poor's this week estimated that values may fall as much as a fifth this year, while brokers CBRE Group and JLL Inc. see a 10% decline. Coming to sub-Saharan Africa, buyout firm Vital plans $500 million Africa fund as demand booms. Vital Capital Fund 2 is weighing opportunities in Mozambique, Tanzania, Rwanda, Angola, Ethiopia, Uganda, Cameroon, Ghana, and the Ivory Coast, managing partners said. Buyout firms raised $4.1 billion to invest in the continent in 2014, 24% more than a year earlier. This is Ernst & Young's private equity Roundup for Africa report. Then, of course, we have this David Bonderman's TPG Capital, who's proposing to partner up with Satya Capital, who really have done very little with the money they raised. Abraj, far more aggressive, raised another $1 billion for a third Africa fund earlier this year. Investor demand was substantially higher, they said at the time. I wrote about this on the 29th of July when I spoke about the Africa buyout frenzy. And I said then, I expect this flurry of activity to gather speed, not slow down. It confirms a breakout moment. You could characterize it as a land grab, and I think that remains the case. South African all share up 6.053% year to date. Dollar rand, as I said last time I had a look, 12.14. Egyptian stock market down 5.26% this year. Nigeria has increased foreign currency curbs to protect reserves. The Nigerian Central Bank banned importers from using the foreign exchange market for some goods in Africa's biggest economy as it seeks to conserve external reserves and stabilize the naira. 40 categories of goods ranging from private jets to rice, wheelbarrows, Indian incense are covered by the edict. It also stopped Nigerians from using the interbank market to buy euro bonds and foreign shares. Importers or investors purchasing the listed items shall do using their own funds, the regulators said. The curb on buying foreign stocks and bonds has targeted selected resident outflows and for the first time impacting capital account transactions. This is an analyst at Goldman Sachs. And I think, as I've said, I think yesterday, I was quoting something I'd said even prior to that I really think they've got to devalue aggressively and let the market come back and find its own level. Nigeria all shares down 4.013% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is plus 4.82% this year. Not done too badly, but of course the currency has collapsed. Apparently there are now fewer than 20,000 wild lions left in Africa, scientific experts reported on Tuesday. That's such a tragedy. I met somebody actually at that Muthega Club meet and greet with the committee, and he was studying the sort of wildlife economy. I'll put up 3 photographs. The lioness getting a better view that I took of she was in Lewa, and it's a lovely photograph, I think. Another photograph, 2 male lions with rumbling stomachs that we came across in the Masai Mara, and they looked purposeful and hungry. And then a dead lion at the Muthega Club that I took a few years ago. Mozambique stands by state guarantees for $850 million tuna bond. This is their FinMin. In a letter obtained by Reuters, the FinMin clarifies that a debt restructuring announced in Parliament last week was actually about the government cleaning up the accounting relating to the 2013 bond, and was not because it could not pay. The government reiterates that it keeps the guarantee issued in the initial conditions agreed with financiers. The first bond repayment is due in early September. The letter addressed to international donors made clear the government was assuming responsibility for the $500 million of the debt that related to maritime security. When the bond was launched, it was presented to investors as funding for fishing infrastructure, but it quickly became apparent a significant proportion of the spending was for maritime surveillance and security. And the yield spiked big time. I think it even had a 9% handle at one point. Kenya ITV News exclusive. This is extraordinary. A video showing at the Al-Shabaab gun battle in which this British jihadi was killed, and he was actually the film man. So he's filming it. Watch that link. He's filming it, and pretty dramatic stuff. And then he gets shot. And someone obviously picked up the video. Thomas Evans was filming during the raid on a military base in Lamu County on Kenya's northern coast when militants were met with a barrage of gunfire from troops. Gunfight ensued. Evans appears to be hit and the camera falls to the ground. So there you go. And it remains, this asymmetric threat remains the biggest risk. And somebody was asking me, what's the biggest risk? I said, the biggest risk is we get another event like Westgate in the heart of the city, driving another stake through the heart of the economy. And I think people's reactions will be entirely different the second time round. President Uhuru Kenyatta calls for the seizure of Mumias looters' assets. Well, that starts with the governor of Nairobi, I'm afraid. While presenting a billion-shilling bailout package, which has been well received by the market, I'll get to that in a moment, the management on Wednesday, President Uhuru, urged the anti-graft watchdog and the Director of Public Prosecution's office to urgently investigate the misappropriation of funds which has left Mumias in financial distress. We will follow up on those who looted Mumia Sugar Company and ensure they return everything they stole, even if it means selling their houses to recover funds to benefit people of Kakamega. And this is the issue. If you commit a financial crime, there has to be a punishment, otherwise people are going to continue committing them. The other problem has been that the President's heart's been in the right place, but then actually making it happen has been an entirely different proposition. So let's see, the proof will be in the pudding. Mumia Sugar has rallied 24.32% over 3 sessions and its trading limit up again. K24 tweeted a photograph of Mumia Sugar, the sort of entrance into the property. I'll put that up. KCB traded 28.166 million shares yesterday, which is just under 1% of the total shares of the company. Big position. The National Treasury is seeking approval to grant Kenya Airways a 4.2 billion shilling emergency shareholder loan. And I think that news of that will surely rally the price as well. But a lack of quorum yesterday in the National Assembly left a government plan to bail out Kenya Airways hanging in the balance, as members have only today to approve the emergency loan. I'll put up a link for Kenya Airways' share price, you can check that out. And I'll also put up a photograph of Boeing 777, the day it was received in Nairobi 598 days ago, and I went to that event. The shilling weakened to 98.95, 99.05, so 99, but then the central bank came in and intervened yesterday, saw it recover to around the 98.50 level. Let's keep an eye on it. The worry is here that you're it's a finger in the dike strategy, these interventions, and eventually you get overwhelmed. Nairobi all shares minus 0.202% this year to date. It bounced 0.18% yesterday. Nairobi NSE 20, which is down 6.24% year to date, has been on the mend, up 48 points since the 9th of June. If you need to check any listed share, there's a link there on the front page of the website and on Rich Wrap-Ups if you scroll to the bottom. And finally, Williamson Tea closed at a fresh 2015 high of 404 and now has posted a 62.91% return year to date. Remember, if you want to follow the stock exchange, just go to rich.co.ke, put in your details, register, get a password. It's all free. Just means I can send you emails about Mindspeak and that kind of thing. I'm never going to sort of spam you or anything, of course. And then go to Rich Live, and it's all free, and you can have it up on your desktop like I do. And you can check into Mumias, the demand, supply, whatever you care. But once again, thank you for stopping by.